Thank you, Ron. Now we have a flag song.
Ready? Yes. Yeah.
Lamb Lamb. This is where we have elders speak. If we have any elders that are looking to speak this morning.
No one has signed up yet.
Words of wisdom. Well, if we don't have anybody to speak, then the next thing on is coming back to the drum for the honor song. That we come to the part of the agenda that we have our council give their updates. Carol, would you start us off, please?
I guess I turned on the wrong machine. Want to welcome all of you this morning and thank you for being here so early, and always appreciate the drum, and especially around powwow season. It's celebration time, it's really good. And I want to say to the council, it's been an honor to work with all of you this last quarter. We've seeming to get a lot of things accomplished, and I don't think I haven't went on any travel, I don't think, in the last quarter, but working on numerous projects, like I'm on the budget committee. That's been an interesting time to see how the budget's going. I've been here for a while, so I've watched the budgets and the approvals, but there's some really grand things that some of our council members are really pushing for, like evaluations and things like that, which is always important to make sure we're evaluating our people, and especially when their appropriation is quite a bit of money these days. So we need to make sure people are doing their part and making sure they're following through, because we serve you, we serve the people, not ourselves. And so it's important that we do those things. We have a couple of things going on in Ronan that's nearing completion. The Deward building, I think that's September. I'm not quite sure when the final, maybe not September. And then we got the meatpacking plant that's up and going. And then we also have Housing Authority that's built a new big complex there. And that, I think, is close to completion. And then of course, we got the skate park, and then we have a new playground in Ronan, and I'd like to invite all of you to come and see that. It's a really cool playground. One part of it has it looks like a dead tree, and at the top of the tree is an eagle that sits up there. And I didn't notice, I noticed one egg up there. And then if you get up on the mountain, you can see the other eggs. It's really cool. And there's, it's kind of like a native theme to it, but it's really pretty. So I encourage all of you to come and check that out. And we've just been working on a lot of things here and just appreciate the time. I've got 3 more years and about 6 months left, and then I'll be retiring. So anyway, it's an honor to sit up here. It really is. And I don't want to get emotional, but I just appreciate it. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Carol. Greg, would you be?
Specia. So I think this is my first July quarterly in about 50 years. I'm usually get moved in to Arlie at camp and always say that I'm going to come here, and I don't. So I have a couple quick updates for you and then a suggestion, something for everybody to think about. Had two travels, I guess, or trips. One was to Fort Hall for an elders abuse conference. Come to find out that elder abuse is getting to be a lot more common than it should be, a lot more common than it has been in previous generations. So tribal programs are getting together and trying to figure out ways to be able to combat that and to protect some of the elders that are maybe by themselves, don't have much family support. So the second trip that I went on was just a few days ago, and that was to just off reservation in the Prim Meadows area. That's on Blackfoot River, just upstream from Bonner, about 15 miles. Had a great meeting there with a lot of our youth, culture committees, and we were touring part of our land with the BLM and the Nature Conservancy and the National Forest Service, and even the state was there, kind of watching what was going on, I guess. But that was good to get out on the land in our Aboriginal territory, especially with our youth. So I really enjoyed that. So my suggestion, as it applies to this quarterly meeting and the January quarterly meeting, just something for everybody to think about. We're constitutionally required to have these quarterly meetings in the first Friday of July, first Friday of October, January, and April. So in July, we always have celebrations going on. In January, we have our winter ceremonies, jump dance and medicine dance and things going on. And so it's kind of hard to pull this gathering together during those times when it conflicts with those. But we have to, because that's what our Constitution says. And until you as a people change the Constitution, as council, we have to be here first Friday of July and January. But the thought that I have is that we could come and have a very short meeting and satisfy the constitutional requirement, but then maybe a week or so later, we could have our meeting for all of the people for this gathering to come in to make it a little bit easier. So we're not interfering with either the Arlie powwow or our winter ceremonies. So just something for everybody to think about, is something that I would like to see happen. It would kind of ease the conflicts that I have with it. So anyway, good to see everybody here. Hope to see you down in Arlie here over the next couple of days. Lam special.
Thank you, Greg. Go to Martin.
CSKT Special. Yeah, the quarter has been, it's been a quarter. Been doing my work with invasive species. But yeah, I guess I made a statement for the minutes last week, or chairman read it for me, but, always want to lead off with thanking people, our first responders, our law enforcement, people that help save lives every day, medical people, people that work in ERs, people that save lives. Always want to thank our mental health professionals. The people that really affect people's well-being. It's been a crazy few weeks. Thankful for the people that have reached out and support. Appreciate the naysayers and the people out there with their own opinions. And I always say that if you want to ask me anything, I'm available. I'm accessible. I answer my phone. I return calls. So if people want to reach out, they're more than welcome to. It's going to be a long road ahead of a physical recovery, mental recovery, and I'll come out better for this. And going through this, I appreciate my colleagues here doing what they need to do. But again, if you have questions, reach out. I truly, second chances in life are strange. And talking to people, obviously there's there's more to do. There's more to say. And I get that opportunity. So I appreciate it. Appreciate everyone here today. It's supposed to be a happy time, celebration, celebration that we made it through this year. But also, there's heaviness in our community. And one of the things that I've really prayed on the last few weeks and is this, the heaviness to be lifted, and for people to find the strength to address issues that they fought with their whole life. And a lot of those are mental health issues. And we just came out of Men's Health Awareness Month. Very fitting. And working on our traumas and our mental health is something that men don't do and really should do more of. And for whatever that's worth, check on your friends, check on the people that don't always ask for help. A lot of people put on a really good face and are really good actors, and they go through their whole lives that way, and then something happens that erodes that facade that people put on. And so, my voice is going to be a lot of, suicide prevention, a lot of mental health, a lot of addressing the roots of addiction and the things that will really improve our community And that's always my goal. You know, make the world a better place, but when you focus on everyone else, you don't always focus on yourself. And that is, that's not always the best thing. So take time for yourselves, hug your loved ones, enjoy the powwow. And again, if you want to reach out to me. Always pray for my friends, always pray for my enemies. I pray for those that pray against me and against my family and against our tribe and against our people. And that's something that we all should do more of. So, not much.
Thank you, Martin. Lynn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, and distinguished membership. I just want to thank all you guys for taking the time to be with us this morning. And thank you, the drum. I want to thank the drum for always being there at the quarterly for us. And it's always an honor to be with you guys. So just a few minor updates. As many of you've probably seen in minutes, we're still planning on developing a store in Elmo. That's still in the plans. It's moving slower than we than we thought, but it's still going to happen. We also are in the midst of opening our skate park, which is really exciting for the kids. We had to deal with a few dog issues before we could do that, but that's moving along. And it's just exciting. It's going to be an exciting summer for Elmo. And I just want you to all enjoy the powwow. And as you all noticed, the traffic is getting really crazy out there, so you all be careful. And once again, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to be with us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Bing?
Yes, quick, let's see, well, welcome everybody that's here today. Doing a powwow's going on and whatnot up there in RE, and lots of people starting to pull in up there, and vendors, lots of vendors up there. But hopefully it's gonna turn out to be a good powwow. Unfortunately, we lost our host drum. But hopefully they can fill in with the drums they have there to be a host drum that they can select from each session. I think they got plans to do. So hopefully everything goes well, you know, and the kids I know up there trying to work the tails off and keep things going, but things like this happen, you know, and then a few other things that came along, but they got worked on and got fixed, you know, and up there before the powwow happened. So, and I want to thank Greg Spar for helping out getting that with sand and whatever else he had put down, gravel down there in that area where they put the new outlets out there. So there was a blessing, I'll tell you, because it was kind of muddy to begin with. But that's all been taken care of. So that's a lot better than it was. I want to thank the drum for flag song, the honor song that sang this morning. I want to thank Mr. Trahan for praying the years that I've been on council with him. I don't know if I ever heard him pray. But I thank her on for saying a prayer this morning, you know, and listening to hear you say a prayer like that. But my schedule is kind of light too, like Carol and whatnot. I've only been attending the Missoula County Land Board meetings in Missoula every once a month, the first part of the month. And that's all I think I've been doing. I had a pricing meeting a while back, but I don't remember, was this the quarter or last quarter? I'd ask my, was this quarter? Yeah, we had a pricing meeting earlier this quarter and it was well, it wasn't too bad of a meeting overall, I guess. Usually we got out of it without having any people going overboard on us. But anyways, like I say, my schedule was kind of light for this quarter. So Prim Meadows, I've never missed a trip up there, and every time they had one, and this time it was raining and whatnot, and I didn't think they were going to go, and well, I didn't go. And then I come to work next day, and they said they went, and oh my God, she was flat pouring out there, and I think they probably got a little bit wet up there, but boy, she was flat pouring that morning when I got up to get ready to go, and I thought, well, I'm not going to go because it's raining too hard, so I didn't go. And elders and rest of the crew did wind up going, and kind of felt bad that I didn't go after I heard they went. But anyway, you know, that's a good place to be. I like that place up there, you know. And when I was a kid, a smaller kid, you know, I was up there years and years ago, and come back, we come over from the South Fork side to go down in there. But it's quite a place up there. You know, and the first time I went up there, I got lost. I wound up clear up on the line. Went up there, I went up there alone and got up there, and I stayed up there where the trailhead is up there that goes back on the reservation. And but since then, I've made every one of them. But glad that Greg was able to go. So, but anyway, I just want to thank everybody for being here, and hopefully everybody enjoys the powwow, and hope everything goes well up there. And you know, the kids are trying to, like I say, trying to make things happen like it's supposed to. So I give them a pat on the back every time I see them. But yeah, they never know what's going to happen. But anyway, thank you for all coming today, and goodbye, guys.
Thank you, Bing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to first thank the drum. Gentlemen sound really good. I'm not going to repeat anything anybody else said other than what Bing said. That's the first time I heard you pray, Trey. I mean, they all. Anyway, there's always a first, right? So that's what I like about our future and what's going on. This spring and early summer has been interesting because this year it's refreshing to see all the water. You know, it really is. And even though we had this really tremendously wet December, that we ended up with Flathead Lake being at full pool for the first time since the last ice age in December and January. To see all the water, you know, is good, but it also marks that things are changing. So we have different paradigms that are happening with our climate. So part of that is us being adaptive and trying to prepare for that, and how we move forward with our land management and our resources, and seeing all the people that are moving here, and seeing the changes with that population shifts. And so there's a lot of things we've been focused on to make sure that our people are housed, that our people have housing. And when we have homes that are, you know, 10 years ago cost 60% less than they do today, to see homes go double and triple in price, and costs of living skyrocketing for our people just to make ends meet, to be able to feed their family and do this, it is very difficult. So we've been working and thinking about that quite a bit, from putting together a strategic homeless plan, working on providing more housing for our people, acquiring more land that we can utilize, and buying land and businesses that we can earn income for our people. There's been a lot of that that's occurred in this past quarter, and I'm really appreciative of that, and my colleagues up here on council and the direction they give, and I appreciate all the words that have been spoken so far this morning. Just a couple of things that I wanted to mention before I shut up is that we have been working on a couple other water issues. And of course, the Kootenai River one with the water pollution from the big mines up in Canada coming directly in Lake Koocanusa and affecting all the life cycles in our relatives in the river and those animals that depend on the river the terrestrial animals. It's been a significant thing, but also we've been engaged in a lawsuit to try to stop a billionaire club from being built in Lakeside. And they actually started it, and you can actually see it from the air. It's incredible to see what they're doing, but it's the Yellowstone Club folks that put in these big exclusive communities for billionaires. And it's such a massive construction site, and demand is that they exceeded the capability of the Lakeside Sewer and Water District. And they've added on to that sewer and water district recently, and that's what we've sued over. It's basically right outside of Summers as you leave Summers, the intersection that cuts over to Big Fork, and you just go a few hundred yards and you'll see the sewer treatment plant. And they're beefing that up to be able to take all that sewer from this massive development and basically pump it into the groundwater there. Well, you know how a head of a river comes in and it has a big delta and it's real gravelly. That whole floodplain there at the head of Flathead Lake is really gravelly, really porous. It's so porous that in studies that the Yellow Bay Biological Station did years and years ago under Dr. Jack Stanford was the stonefly larva, which is if you ever fish a lot, man, boy, you see the fish eat that, and it's a big old critter that comes out of the water and then it emerges and flies around. But like Rock Creek is famous for the stonefly hatch. But the stonefly bugs that live up there, you know, they're just right in the gravels. They move around the gravel in the streams. When they were doing testing in wells up there in that alluvial fan of Flathead Lake and the headwaters of the lake, they were finding stonefly larvae 90 feet down into the gravel because they move that much. It's so porous. And so what the objection that we had was that when you inject all this sewer water, not only for Lakeside, but it's also for that southwest portion of Kalispell area, is that it eventually is going to come back up, enter into the lake, enter into Ashley Creek, or into those sloughs that are right there in that floodplain, and we're going to have very high nutrient loading coming into Flathead Lake. And it's going to cause a dramatic effect into the water quality of the waters that we consider just so immensely valuable. And it's our job to make that water clear, clean, and keep it that way for future generations. So we objected. We filed a lawsuit that's going through its final stages right now. There's a oral hearing here mid-July that we hope to have some staff up there. But that's a dramatic thing. There's some other parts of that we're concerned about too, but those kind of threats and those kind of developments coming into our landscape is an impact to all of us. And so if we don't stand up and say, no, this is not the right thing to do, you guys are filthy rich. Take care of your sewer in the appropriate way, like anybody else. Don't put it on to us. Don't pollute our waters. Don't do this to our aquatic systems. And so that's the fight that we're doing right now. It's active, and we'll keep up on it. Just a couple of things that I traveled on, and Bing did talk about it, but the Yellowstone bison, we've been, exercising our rights to harvest bison in all of our Aboriginal territory, and the Yellowstone wild herd has been key cornerstone to that. Those are our buffalo that our people here helped save. Back in the day, there was 25 head of buffalo left in Yellowstone National Park, and they took the Allard Pablo herd descendants, the Tatis descendants, and helped supplement that. They put another 100 buffalo down there, and that's really kept the buffalo going in Yellowstone Park. So we had this really deep connection. Not only that, but the fact that we've hunted that area forever, and it's part of our homeland. But the state sued over the way that the Yellowstone Park was managing those buffalo. They don't like to see us get above 3,000 head of buffalo in Yellowstone Park. And we said, you know what? It's great to have more than 3,000 if they're not causing a problem. They get out on our Aboriginal lands, on our open and unclaimed lands, and we can hunt them. And they're part of the landscape. They're part of the ecology that needs to always be there. And so through time, we were able to get them and the state and the other agencies to go along and increase that population, which now hovers around 6,000. head. It's double what the current management plan said in the past. And they had drafted a new management plan that allowed that flexibility, and the state sued over that. And we're currently in a process to revisit that plan. And it'll be an interesting thing as we move forward to see what we can do. The state administration is not buffalo friendly. They do not want to see buffalo released, any wild buffalo in the state of Montana. Starts with the governor's office and goes through the Board of Livestock. And so they have this deep concern and conflict they believe that exists between buffalo and cattle ranching, which in my opinion doesn't exist. So we'll have to do our due diligence and try to keep pushing to make sure that our buffalo can be out on the landscape, and we continue to do that. So our partnership with the other tribes still remains strong with our Salish speaking tribes that hunt the buffalo. So we have that partnership. There's a few other tribes that have joined in the Yellowstone hunt, from the Crows and the Blackfeet and the Wind River tribes. But they're pretty good partners also. So we'll see how that goes. Along with that access, I was traveled to a trip. The conservation easements are a tool that people do to protect their land. They want their land to be a certain way forever. They want to make sure it's cared for, and they'd like to see it as open space, or maybe a ranch, or maybe for wildlife habitat or fisheries habitat. And so what they'll do is they'll put a covenant on their property, and it's in the title, and so it has to be managed that way forever. Along with that, at times they'll allow public access. And some of these lands in Montana are extremely valuable to us. They're historic use areas where our people have always gone. Maybe it's a place that has bitterroot or camas or things of that nature. And so what we were working on was, in the conservation movement, call them land trusts, is to have a tool that if some rich person or some rancher, somebody with some land wants to dedicate that for conservation, but also recognizes that our people have been on that landscape forever and like to see that restored also. There's an opportunity for them to put that in their conservation easement that would grant us access to do whatever on that landscape, return us back to that landscape. So I participated in a conservation workshop last month that talked about that, and we presented a toolkit that all the conservation land trusts in the Pacific Northwest could use this toolbox to maybe implement that with willing private landowners, to get us to find those places where we can have a new place to dig bitterroot. We can have a new place to do this. There's so many places that have pictographs or sites that are locked off access to us that are out there. You go around Flathead Lake and there's not one pictograph that's on public property. They're all on private property. And that was the first thing that really offended me, was as I became really aware working on Flathead Lake, is to see, you know what, we can't even get to these places because they're private. And there was no concept of private in the past. So hopefully this toolkit will work out for us. I'm really, really hopeful that it will. One of the things of managing the water at Flathead Lake is that, you know, as we struggle with drought, and to see this year's refreshing, is that there's demands on our water for downstream issues. And one of those is to take our water and use it for downstream issues, or take our water that are used for maintaining fisheries in our lower Flathead River, just to keep Flathead Lake full for recreational boating. And that's not something that we're supporting. But when we have good years like this, it's not an issue. But part of that is that we're represented in a Columbia River board that talks about how river flows happen in the system. And I've been participating in that every Wednesday for the past few years. Just got another person to relieve me, so that's helped quite a bit. But right now, the demands for Hungry Horse water out of Flathead Lake, maintaining water for recreational pool elevations, all that noise has subsided quite a bit when we have a wet year. So that's pretty good. But our fish management in Flathead Lake is that we've gone beyond the border, because it's our lake and we're managing the entire fisheries of Flathead Lake. And so we've been taking our native fish keepers, which is management activity to net lake trout, to help benefit bull trout and West Slope cutthroat trout. We've gone beyond the border on the lake. So we're netting the entire lake. It took a little bit of work with the Fish Wildlife Parks management to make sure that that would happen. But we have a field trip coming up at the end of this month with the Fish Wildlife and Park Director to showcase how we're doing the right thing to manage Flathead Lake and showcase our native fish keepers, hatch our processing plant and our crew that works it. So it's really critical that we continue to do that. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to go on. I'm dribbled on enough. So I could talk all day. You guys want me to? Okay, I know. Okay.
Thank you, Tom, and believe me, I know you can talk all day. Danny.
Well, since Tom took all the time, no, I'm joking. I'll try and be brief though, so we can get to our members. So we can hear what you guys have to say today, and we can all get back to our families and enjoy the beautiful powwow Bing's families been working so hard on for us this year. We're waiting for keys for our newest building down there in the agency, the Sunny Moijo building. I'm hoping we'll have those the end of this month. That'll create more access to services. We're hoping to see tribal health down there 3 times a month instead of, 3 times a week instead of 2 hours a week. Really big thank you to the work DHRD and their 477 programs done for the community and this council. We've got working showers there in the Anita Matt building and washer and dryer. And you couldn't, I just still am in shock on how many people actually use that. And it's not just our homeless population, it's working families that are just struggling to meet some of their basic needs to be able to afford a washer and dryer, even if they've got the hookups in their homes, or some of those homes are such bad shape their stuff doesn't work. But our people are coming back to life in a good way and feeling good about themselves. A shower goes a long ways for some of our people out there really struggling. And so I'm just really grateful with such a small community where we're at, when we've got over 10% of our population down there homeless. And I mean, this is truly homeless. That's not counting the doubled up. That's the ones that are no running water and no utilities. So I just think we're really making strides in getting services down there for our membership in that rural area. I'm looking to Len and what they're doing there in Elmo as far as a convenience store, because I'm really hoping that in the future we can get that access. I recently been educated a little bit on what poor man's tax is, and when we talk about a $4 gallon of milk that we can walk down the road and get when we've got a store in our community, when we've got people with no cars and other things, that $4 gallon of milk becomes a $20 gallon of milk because they've got to pay somebody for gas and get a ride, and it just creates additional hardships. So I think, small convenience store in the future might reduce some of that burden. But we've got Essential Eats coming 3 times a month with food for the community. And I thank Martin for that connection, that networking opportunity. But it also brings food to the hub here in Pablo and food to our warming shelter here. Food security is huge. It's hard for me to see our people struggle with no food. I mean, we're pretty fortunate, or I feel like I'm very fortunate to have food on my plate every day, but I know lots of people who don't. So food sovereignty's been really great to collaborate with. We've brought in dozens, which I don't know how many pallets of eggs. Just recently I worked with them and we got them 6 pallets of potatoes, and they work throughout all the communities to try and get that food out there. Skate Park's been a healthy addition. We've got community buy-in, and we're cleaning up our community and getting to a healthy place. I'm pretty proud of our community members for that. Drug Task Force has also been a huge asset, and I've been really grateful for the collaboration with them and just them willing to listen and come down and help us out down there. Wild Plum Landing, we've got a community meeting July 13th at 6 p.m. So we're hoping for a new boat launch down there. And I mean, we've even created one new job down in Dixon, believe it or not, but we're hoping to build some economy down there and have work for our people. Thank you to SCAHA, that transitional supportive housing, and that's going up in Ronan, is going to do really great things for our people. I'm excited for that. What else do I have on? Oh, travel. Attended the missing and murdered Indigenous Persons Advisory Council. We're hoping to get some direct funding to tribes through the link bill. Worked with Shelley Fyant on that, and hopefully that'll push through. Let's see. Try not to repeat anything anybody said here, so I'm skipping some of these spots on my paper. Oh, no, and thank you, everybody that came out too for our 4th annual MMIP walk. We'll do it again next April, so if you guys haven't come to one of those, come join us. It's really a good place to be with family and heal and pray with our loved ones, for our loved ones that aren't here anymore or still missing. I think that's all I got, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Danny. James?
Kisukyukyet Heskwext, Hesia. I want to mention a few people that are running for office in this next election. Shelley Fyant, as many of you know, is running again for House. And Thetis Crow, a member from the Blackfeet Nation, is running for House again as well. And I think we need to get out and support our Native candidates for House. And another candidate that's running for House District 13, that's a descendant, Jeannie West's grandson, Dalton Bradford. He's running for House District 13 up in Polson. And it would be good to support him, get out and support him. He's running against a MAGA young man. He's about 22 years old. And he is basically moved into the community. He doesn't even really formally live in Polson, but if you want to talk about a right-wing anti-tribal belief, that young man is carrying that. One thing I want to mention is that in this current time with the Orange Man in the White House, a lot of tribes are afraid to do anything to get on his bad side. And I think it's pretty evident the man is corrupt. You can just list tons of things that he has done that has benefited his own family, his own cronies. He's made no bones about it that he doesn't believe anyone of color should have the right to vote. The party that he represents has tried actively to hinder our Native people in their right to vote in state and federal elections. They have tried to do away with mail-in balloting for state and federal elections. They have removed people of color from high up officials in the Department of Defense. There was a major that got up, a U.S. Air Force major that got up and protested at, I believe it was a Lincoln Memorial, and he was arrested. And so, and then not to mention all of the things that ICE are doing. This administration is basically a dictatorship. He's made no bones about it. He does not want to leave office. And, you know, I attended a conference last week for the commodity program, and I was there to testify on behalf of the tribes to get us as part of the self-governance demonstration project for commodity programs. And the tribes there were really not wanting to upset the USDA officials and not upset the Orange Man in the White House, and just on eggshells. And you know, I know that our country has a history of not too good towards anyone of color, particularly Native people. They've taken language off of, you know, I think, you know, many of us have heard what they've done with the Battle of the Little Bighorn, messing with the history there, messing with the history of blacks and slavery. And so I think at this time, it's really important to remember the people that fought for us to have the right to vote and fought for us to have the American citizenship. And we have had women and Black folks and Native folks that have been arrested in years to give us the right to vote. And this administration and this Supreme Court in particular are lockstep in removing the rights of us as individual people, and particularly us as Native American people. And so I'd like to encourage you to make sure to also pay attention to our House District 1 candidate, Sam Forstag, that's running. I think it's important to replace, have someone in that seat that remembers that people have the right to vote, people have the right to speak their what they think and that kind of thing. The other thing that has, for the last probably 10 years that I've been dealing with in our family is the opioid addiction. I've had my nephew, my niece, and my adopted son all walk that path of addiction. And I can tell you the families in our community that have they haven't chosen to walk that path, but they've been forced to walk that path because they have a loved one that has been affected by that. And I can tell you there's nothing worse than to see your loved ones consumed by addiction. Those individuals that I mentioned, that there was opioid addiction. And, thankfully today I have about 3/4 of them are working and are productive people in our community. They're taking care of their families. They've come a long ways from stealing everything. I can't tell you all the things I've had stolen from me by my own family. And I know many of you have walked that same path, my son, and I'll end with this. My son came to me and he said, "Dad, I'm sorry for all the things that I've stolen from you." And I told him, "Son, I would give up the world to have you sober and alive and taking care of my grandkids." And I think that's an element in our community that we don't like to face, we don't like to deal with, and it's a hard part of our community. We can see them, couch surfing and house surfing, and it's a tough population to deal with. And so I think some of the things that we've got going with the tribes, our opioid settlement funds, I think can be used a little more proactively and targetedly to get people into treatment. And we've often talked about wraparound services. I think we can do better in that arena. I think a couple of the tribes on the West Coast that I have visited, they have a theme in one of them that says our mission is to remove barriers to care. And I think that not just goes for addiction and treatment, but I think it goes for probably our whole healthcare facility, that they should be removing the barriers to care. If there's a barrier, let's try to figure out how to do it differently and help that person better. And when you have someone that's in addiction and they reach out to you and you say, I'm ready, and then you bring them to the system and the system says, well, fill out this paperwork, or we'll see you next week, or we can help you. That's not what we need. We need immediate taking them in and doing what we can with them right away. If somebody has a broken arm or that kind of thing, you can take them to the ER and generally get help right away. But if someone's in addiction and then trying to seek out help, we'll put them on a time frame. We'll say, come back. But thank you for listening to me on those words. And I want to encourage you to please, if you live in Shelley Fiance District, please help her get elected. She was really good in the last legislative session to beat back some of the anti-tribal stuff, anti-tribal bills, the anti-voting stuff. Thetis Crow has also been great. She's running for House District 15. And I just want to mention again Dalton Bradford, a descendant of our tribe that's running for House District 13 up in Polson. So Lemlemshin Husut Kukani.
Thank you, James. Jamie, go ahead.
Good morning. Thanks everybody for showing up on this July. I know a lot of people would rather be out in this nice weather or at the powwows. Always thanks to the drum. We always appreciate your guys' honor song and flag song. We appreciate you guys. For travel, just wanted to say that I went to a as James was mentioning some of the Indian legislators, I went to the second round of what was called a Pathways to Sovereignty, and it's Indian tribal leaders meeting with the Indian legislators, the American Indian Caucus, to work on issues that are important to tribal leaders, to strengthen sovereignty and consultation. State offices always talk about having consultation with tribes, but it's really not meaningful. And a lot of times it's just like, oh yeah, we always already talk to the tribes, but we're really trying to strengthen that so that tribes really have a seat at the table. And it's one of the first times that they've actually had tribal leaders and tribal legislators together to work on these issues of importance. So they're going to continue that, and it's just been something that's been interesting to work with. And as James stated, we really need to support those Indian legislators that are fighting for the issues that are important to our tribes here in Montana. Carol mentioned the playground in Ronan. Polson we're also looking at one, working with the company called Push and Play. So we're looking at getting water, like a splash pad for the kids near the skate park. So that's a work in progress, but we're working towards that. Also wanted to let the Polson people know that Todd Reish, a past Olympian who's from Hot Springs, reached out to me. Him and his family moved back home, and he is looking at trying to start a training facility or something for the youth, actually for all ages, but something for the youth and adults in the community to help strengthen their athletic performance and have a positive environment for them. Last week or the week before, the Tribal Council had a homelessness strategic planning meeting. All of the issues that continue to come up, like substance abuse and mental health, it all really falls into homelessness. We know that we have a housing shortage and costs are really high, but a lot of our people really fall into homelessness because of issues of mental health or substance abuse. And I think it's really important that we really stay engaged in that and make sure that we help our membership. So we spent 2 days in this homelessness strategic planning meeting, and it's going to continue. And I think that we're really looking for solutions, how we can help the membership in that area. Some of you have asked too about our gaming compact. That did go into effect, just so some of you know. I know some of you have probably visited our new casino, 400 horses. It still does only have the class 2 machines, but our compact is in place. But I do know that they haven't had any of the new machines go into the 400 horses or at Gray Wolf. And that's just a conversation that the SNK Gaming board will continue to have with the council to kind of see what direction we're going to move in that. So just to let people know that the gaming compact is in effect, we just don't have the machines there yet. I just wanted to say that, one of the reasons why I got elected was a lot of people were asking for transparency and accountability. And it's not always easy sitting up here, because you have relationships with your colleagues, but you're elected to do the tough things that you have to do. And I think we all know that there's a lot of issues that come up. I know that I've sometimes been unpopular because I ask the hard questions, and I say things that aren't always popular. But I feel that that's why I was elected, and I'm going to continue to do that as I sit up here. I'm going to, make those hard decisions. I'm going to always ask for transparency. I'm always going to ask for accountability. It's not always the popular thing, but every 4 years when you get elected, that's when you find out whether you made the right choices or not. But I do know that I've been asked by quite a few people to keep that accountability and that transparency open, and that's what I will continue to do. So again, just want to say thank you. I'm not going to talk a long time because I know that, again, for those of you that have not signed up, there is a sign-up sheet if you want to talk, because I think that what we're here today is really to listen to the membership. I want to know what's on the membership's mind so that we can address issues that come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. I'll make my report fairly short. Thank you, Drum. It's always good to hear the drum. And thank you to everybody that's here today. And you've heard most of the issues that we've covered for this last quarter. I do want to also thank everybody that has participated in the straw poll that we put out. And it's interesting to see that our returns on that were basically 2-1 for change. The troublesome thing about the straw poll was the participation. I'd love to see more participation. It's really important that the citizenry actually participates. And then I want to remind everybody that I do have district meetings on the last Friday of every month in Hot Springs at the senior center, and you can get a hold of me at any time. And I'll make that my report. And the drum has been nice enough to stay to give us another song, and we'll do that now. Thanks to the drum, and I hear you're headed for the powwow, and Art was wanting to say something. Welcome, Art.
Yeah, I just had a couple words before I get out of here. First one being, would like everybody to think about one of the things that happened in my personal little community with the firefighters that lost their lives down in Utah or Colorado, I think it is. We're right now it's nice and green and everything's looking good, but there's a downside to that in the fact that now we have a lot more fuel out there. So I would hope that you guys would be careful with what you're doing for the remainder of the summer. Myself and Thomas, my nephew here, we're both still involved in that world. So, would like to uh, have you guys know that we're out there. We're going to try and take best care of you as we can. Just be patient with us when we do have to do things. Um, you know, my other thought is escaping me, so I guess I'm just thinking about the powwow. So, you guys all have a safe 4th of July weekend, and we'll see you down at powwow.
Thank you, Art. We'll take a short break and then we'll open the floor to the people. Well, let's come back to order. And if there's anybody in the audience that actually wants to speak.
Yes, I have
please.
Lois Freelander signed up for.
Right. And so we'll move to that portion where there's an open floor for membership. What are we talking about?
You're the second tallest guy.
Lois, come on up. Welcome. The one that says talk. You have to push the one that says talk. Then there.
Okay. I first want to apologize for not standing for the drum. Since 24, I've developed arthritis in my left knee, and oh my goodness, I now know firsthand what people with arthritis go through. And so, wow. I want to thank you guys for allowing me some time to sit here. I'm here today to ask Tribal Council for your support. We want to push forward a secretarial election to restructure and reallocate the power within our government. I think this thing is going to solve so many problems that we live day to day with, you know, throughout our current governing system. Mike, you mentioned participation was an issue. Jamie mentioned transparency. And Tom, you can go on forever about the longstanding political turmoil that we face on the national level. That's been talked about since I was a little kid. It'll never, ever be resolved. That's the nature of the country that we live in. They have given us this little bit of sovereignty, this little bit of self-determination, quasi-sovereignty. And we're always going to face that kind of pushback. And you can spend an entire career talking about those same national issues. They're always going to be here. We can talk all day about them. But my thing is, we have to take care of our home front. And the only way we do that is to increase participation. I have personally witnessed 4 elections, I think, that I have been involved in. And a better half of our voting age people don't even want to participate because they're disenfranchised. They don't feel it's a system that's going to preserve us. They don't see that it's something they can partake in. They don't feel that their needs are getting met. And a lot of the things that we discussed here, or that I've heard you guys discuss, are also things right here in our home front that aren't going to get resolved under this current system. Not anytime soon. And as it is, we are fading out fast. And yet we're talking about enrollment again. But I really hope that before anything moves further on enrollment, that you guys allow those of us who serve that enrollment committee to come forward. We put forward our recommendations, but I don't think we were given enough time. And since we gave you those recommendations, I have taken some time. And I think what we've come up with, you know, about solutions to future enrollment doesn't leave anybody out. And it's the way we have to start gearing up if we're going to preserve ourselves and live on into the future. And for now, I'm going to discuss secretarial election. We have been working since 2019 to bring about a new form of governance that will serve our people in a way more effective way to where we will have housing and we'll have it quick, fast, and in a hurry. And we will have upward mobility for our people. Because if you don't have upward mobility, then you have the social ill that we have had since this reservation came to be under the 1934 Reorganization Act. That was just a boilerplate constitution that they threw at all tribes. It was designed for the government convenience, not to preserve our cultures and not to preserve us as a people. It has made us sick. It has made us ineffective in serving our people. Yes, I am proud of this tribe. I am a proud member of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. But I have come to know through my 67 years that if we're going to have anything, we have to do it ourselves. We needed housing out in Elmo. Nobody was looking. They were displacing our community. They had us strewn throughout the reservation. Well, that's not good for our cultural survival at all. And I go down to the Salish area and my heart breaks. We should not be living in the conditions that we're living in, not in this day and age, not with the resources we have. And I'm not here to ask any of you to get in any kind of debate and feel like I'm attacking any of you, because I'm not. You guys are simply a victim of your circumstance, having to serve under this constitution that is in no way Salish and or Kootenai. I took care of my mom in her final years. She is the great granddaughter of chiefs on both of her sides. And throughout my whole entire childhood, all I was ever told was that if they would simply revert back to traditional governance to the most realistic extent, we would be thriving right now. But because they choose to continue to trudge under this CUP style government, it's not a fit for our people. And we're going to continue to just be absorbed and we're going to be no more. So all of this, all of our government, this isn't going to live on under this current system. So since 2019, well, actually it started before, probably about, I'd say 2016, I was talking with Sonny Lozo and I said, you know, we can't get access to our own tribal attorneys to even sit with them for a minute to see the possibilities. He goes, you better savvy up. You better start practicing real Indian law. And I said, what's real Indian law? He said, you write something out to the best of your ability. Like you're going to take somebody to court. You fire it off in the federal courts. And he goes, and those slick attorneys, they'll come back with your response that will answer every single thing that you need to know to move forward on it. That's the cheapest way I know to do it, you know, when I have a matter that needs to be taken care of. And I said, well, you know, Sonny, I said, in all of these lawsuits that have come through our tribe, I've come to realize in sneaking off and getting a little time with these attorneys, they tell us the answer is right there. The only, you know, Congress tells you, don't clog up our federal courts with all of your, oh, I'm getting oppressed, repressed, suppressed, oppressed. They don't want to hear that. They said, we have given you Article X in your tribal constitutions. That's the only way you can fix anything about your situation. I can be oppressed and stomped down into the ground and snuffed out, and I would have no recourse to save my life anywhere. A tribal court won't hear it, a state court won't hear it, a federal court won't hear it. So we have no other alternative but to pass a secretarial election. And I believe we're going to do it. Because this form of government is completely legal. It's totally within our rights. It's the way it should have been from day one. It breaks into two electorates, a Salish electorate, a Kootenai electorate. That doesn't mean either of the two tribes are going to take anybody's power or take any more resources. It simply means we're better able to preserve the integrity of our culture and to define who we are as people and how we want to move forward. I'll tell you one thing, I don't want a small handful of non-Indian people deciding our enrollment, because if they open those floodgates, we're going to be in a worse situation than we're already in. There's a way to do this. There's a way, and I've posted a picture up here. This was the Hot Springs Indian Club back when I was a young kid. And if everybody in that picture had access to what it means to truly know who you are as a Salish and our Kootenai person, that would have been powerful. Some of them young men standing there, they wanted to identify, but they were held out. I was held out. I used to have an afro. My hair was so curly. I wasn't accepted by the Kootenai. I wasn't accepted by the white people. And in that picture, I had to put all kinds of stuff on my hair to comb it out to where it was as straight as I could get it so I would look Indian, because I never looked Indian and I was mistreated. Now, unfortunately, we had another death in our community, and one of the family members who does constitutional legal work for gun rights, she's also a Kootenai, totally blonde hair and blue-eyed, but she doesn't think or identify herself as anything other than Kootenai. She should be sitting right here beside me, because I'm telling you, she could have reinforced everything I have to say and then some. But I'm going to read you something legal so that there's, and then I'm going to end with questions that people have to ask I'm going to end with a series of questions that people will most likely ask about this process. I know I've burned down enough time, but I don't want any of you here thinking I am here because I want to stir a pot or I have a vendetta or whatever. I simply want to know, or I simply want you guys to know that we want your help and support in this. Because if we all sit down and we all understand this, it's going to be powerful. And it's going to solve a lot of our solution, or it'll be a solution to a lot of our problems. Okay. This is a draft legal submission that we will be sending back to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, because we've corrected all of their concerns that they've had since 2019. We kind of fizzled out in 2019. My mom was real sick and I had to provide 24/7 care for her. But as sick as she was the one who laid out most of what, we have, all the work we've done. She laid it out in a way that I think is beautiful. And so far, it has been given legal approval. The people that we're working with are very excited that something like this could come to fruition if everybody puts their heads together and gets something like this pushed through.
Lois, is this a document we can look at?
You will be getting it. You guys, I'm elderly now. I'm on a fixed income. Our legal team said they'll cover most of these costs. We were supposed to have a meeting on the 2nd of June, or June 28th, we were supposed to meet. But we had a real sad loss, and we had to postpone that meeting. And so I have yet to put it through to our traditional people. They have to give their 100% approval before we can push the button to the legal team and say, okay, fire it out. And as soon as that happens, which will probably be next Thursday, you guys are going to have everything. Okay, legal submission version. Statement of support of proposed amendments to the CSKT Constitution. This submission supports proposed amendments to the Constitution of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes pursued since February 11th, 2019, in accordance with Article X of the existing Constitution and applicable federal law. The CSKT are located on the Flathead Indian Reservation in northwestern Montana, established under the 1855 Hellgate Treaty. Prior to federal reorganization, the Salish and Kootenai peoples govern themselves through traditional leadership systems rooted in their respective cultures, languages, and customs. In 1934, pursuant to the Indian Reorganization Act, the tribes adopted a standardized constitutional framework designed to facilitate federal administration and oversight. While this framework has provided continuity in governmental operations, it does not adequately reflect the distinct identities of the Salish and Kootenai peoples, nor does it incorporate traditional mechanisms of representation and cultural authority. The Salish and Kootenai are distinct tribes with separate languages and cultural systems. The Salish language belongs to the Salesian language family, while the Kootenai language is a linguistic isolate. The current electoral structure treats these distinct peoples as a single electorate, which has contributed to reduced participation, diminished representation, and erosion of trust in tribal governance. The proposed amendments seek to improve representation, accountability, and cultural alignment by restructuring the governing framework while maintaining compliance with federal requirements, including secretarial election and approval. The amendments do not eliminate modern governance structures, but rather refine them to better reflect tribal identity and self-determination. These proposed changes are lawful, procedurally authorized, and consistent with the tribe's inherent right to self-governance. And I just want to read one other thing that we are prepared to put out as an ad, one of our first ads to get everybody pretty much up to snuff with what's going to happen over the next couple of years, well, about a year. Why we are working to amend the CSKT Constitution. For nearly 100 years, the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes have operated under a constitution imposed during a federal era that prioritized assimilation over indigenous self-determination. Before 1934, our people governed themselves through leaders, elders, and community responsibility. That system was replaced with a standardized constitution written to serve federal convenience, not tribal culture. The Salish and Kootenai are not one people. We speak different languages, come from different traditions, and carry different histories. Yet our current government treats us as a single electorate, weakening representation and silencing cultural authority. Today, many tribal members no longer participate in elections because they do not believe the system reflects who we are or what we value. The loss of trust is not accidental, it's structural. The proposed constitutional amendments would ensure fair representation for both tribes, restore cultural guidance through elders, improve election integrity and participation, strengthen accountability and leadership. These changes do not eliminate modern governance or federal oversight. They simply ensure that our governing system reflects Indigenous identity, responsibility, and the will of the people. A lot of people will ask these questions. I'm going to think of them off the top of my head. I won't read verbatim because I'm probably near out of time. But a lot of people will say, why now? Why do we need it? Well, we do need it. We're fading out. We all know that. We have I think 100 Salish and Kootenai full blood left. The rest of us are admixtures of everything else. And the overwhelming majority have diluted down to absolutely no Indian blood. We're in a situation to where we stand so much to lose. If you stand and do a 360, we'll lose this beautiful reservation if we don't tighten up now. And it starts now. And I don't want any of you to think, oh, I'm going to be left out. What about it? The whole thing is we're not Salish and Kootenai people unless we have our cultural integrity intact moving forward. It's inevitable. We're all going to be blonde hair and blue eyed. We all have admixtures of everything in us. But let me just kind of leave you with this. We had this situation happen out in Elmo. This little girl was laying on the side of the road. It was just so horrific. When I got to Polson, I was just shaken and feeling so bad because I didn't stop. But there were quite a few people around her. We didn't know if she was dead or alive. And so I'm just shaking because I guess you kind of lose your nerve the older you get. You just don't have your same nervous system. And the store lady, she asked me, she said, what's wrong? And I said, I'm just so upset. I saw something horrible. I should have stopped to find out what it was about, and I didn't. I don't know if the little girl is dead or alive, and I just feel horrible. And she said, was it? And she named this girl who lives out in Elmo. And I said, oh, you mean that little white girl that goes around and she doesn't have her mind? And she goes, she's Indian. And I go, oh, I didn't know. I don't know her that well. And she goes, she's from my family. And I'm Kootenai. And I looked at her and I knew immediately what she meant. And she was Kootenai. And you couldn't tell her any different. She may be blonde hair, blue eyed, but she was Kootenai. I feel 100% Kootenai. I was raised in a blanket ass household where I had a monocultural upbringing like you wouldn't believe. I was somewhat ashamed of it growing up. But now at my age, I thought I had the richest childhood in the world. We didn't worry about beatings, alcoholism, sexual molestation, drug use, or any of that. That started to hit my family in early 72, and it devastated us. Prior to that, everything was spoken in my language, but it was over and above. I was probably the only third grade kid who once realized sitting in her class that I saw everybody in my tribe naked at one point or another. We used to sweat. All of us would sweat as families. We would sing. The Salish would come down. My grandmother was married to a man who had a brother married into the Salish family. And probably 3 times a year, they would move right into our home. And they didn't think anything of our cramped conditions. We lived in a shack. This was before we had tribal housing. And we used to, in our ceremonies, ask and ask for housing. Well, guess what? Life has a funny way of working out. We were the ones, the few, the esoteric group that still carried on the deep belief system. And we asked for all these things. Guess what? Everybody else started to get it but us. And sometimes that's the way your belief system works. You're tested. You're not always given what you want, but Nupika will give it to you when he's ready. I'm telling you guys sitting here, he's ready to give us this, a new way to govern ourselves. And soon I will be back again to meet with council, probably just with them. But I am going to beg these people sitting up here to help us with this. We need 1,200 signatures. I'm worth 250. Junior Kai's worth 450. We have Sonny Burke worth 650. We know we'll get the signatures to bring it to election, but it's going to take all of us to totally get on. We're developing a website, should be up within 3 weeks. You guys will know exactly what it is we're amending and that it's not harmful. It's the way it should have been done from day one. And it's completely legal. And guess what? Out of the 578 federally recognized tribes, nearly all tribes have already revised their constitution. Why haven't we? Why? Because everybody seems to think everything is fine. Yet we sit here time and again and we point out all the social ill, all the disconnectedness, all the inequity. Some of you people sitting out there may come from the split family issue. All of this can be addressed under this new governing structure. And it'll be done quick, fast, and in a hurry. Otherwise, we'll sit here time and again, year after year, slowly just watching ourselves fade out. And it shouldn't be that way. It doesn't have to be that way, but it's up to each and every one of us to get to know what it is. We're going to be signing a petition to bring a secretarial election. And I'm going to leave this one final thought. Carol, my heart breaks for you. I was in here before and you asked how come your son has to be shipped off so far. That shouldn't be the case, you guys. Why don't we have that system straightened out? I'm going to tell you something horrible. My little beautiful son, when he was a young man, was incarcerated. And I cannot tell you without going to pieces what it's like for a little good-looking American Indian boy to end up in a hellhole like that. They'll never be the same. And why is that not fixed? That is so easily fixable. Your son should be right here, Carol, taken care of by us. If he has to be punished, let us punish him in a traditional way. That should have happened for my son. I was here in 2015 when I managed the fatherhood program with a young, beautiful man. He had a horror story that scared me so bad that we came and sat before council, and we had that beautiful Eldina Bear Don't Walk who came in and laid it all out, how it could easily be done. And she was so right, but yet it wasn't done. It's like no one cares about our youth. And I want to tell you something, for some of you full bloods or those of you with more Indian admixture, it is hard, like Jamie said, to sit up here and to not be able to develop your leadership to your full capacity because somebody is going to tell you, oh, we can't do it that way. Oh, guess what? You can. You can have anything you want when you have a traditional governance. You won't ever have to sit here and be dictated to or told what to do. Okay. Now, I will leave you guys with that because I too can go on forever. But DLA Piper, they're the fourth largest legal firm in the world. And they are so excited to take this on. And they're not coming on as any threat to the tribe or whatever. They said, you guys want a secretarial election? Let's get it going. Let's make sure it's completely legal. And so they ran with the documents that we had been working on since 2019. And I want tribal council's support. That's what I'm here for. I didn't come here to ruffle anyone's feathers, point fingers at anybody, but I'm saying this will be something that we can all live with into the future and stay intact. And I hope you guys want the same thing. And I'm open for phone calls anytime. And all of our meetings will be posted. And one thing I want you guys to think about is we have to carry this petition for about a year. We have 1 year to get the signatures from the date that we get the first person to sign. We have 1 year to get 1,200 signatures. I want to be posted over here in the, by tribal jail, by the courts, in that area between two bathrooms. I'd like a little area to sit there with my petition day in and day out. And not only myself, but maybe a couple others who want to sit there and man the petition. We don't want it going anywhere. We want it right there. Can we get that place for a year? We won't take up but a little table. So will you guys think of that and see if you can make that available? Okay, and that's, does anybody have any questions? I want you to know we're not doing this out of vendetta. We're not doing this because we are upset at you guys. You guys, I feel sorry for you having to operate and try to be a council person under this structure that you're under because you can't really do anything.
Questions for Lois? Martin?
Go ahead, Martin.
Thank you, Lois, and appreciate all your work, but we are 3 tribes here on the reservation, so I'd like some acknowledgement of that in this.
Oh, that's a good question. Okay. When we looked at this from every angle, the Code of Federal Regulations are very stern that we don't care how many tribes are confederated. When we confederated you, you are to be thought of as one single tribe. So the Pend Oreille want to be recognized as having their own chief, as having their own body of people independent of their Silesian relatives. Well, they came at a wrong time. If they had been just a little earlier when the government was situating Indians back in the day through congressional act, through administrative authority, there were several ways that they situated Indian tribes prior to the 1934 reorganization. Well, it's unfortunate because a lot of us, our 5 Kootenai bands, we would like to think of ourselves as separate and have a separate whole, but Congress is not going to do that anymore. So we have to move forward with this in a legal way. We are recognized as the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes through Congress, through the eyes of Congress. So I got thrown out of the meeting back in 2019 with the Salish people. They were so upset because I think you were there, Len. In fact, you kind of stopped it and quelled everything. Steve Arca was pretty upset because he said, I could go for something like this, but how does this help my people? And before I could even explain, you know, which I wanted to tell him, well, it sure helps you a lot better than what you have going on right now, because it'll get you to the table. Because when we break into our electorates, Salish electorate, Kootenai electorate, the Salish bring on 4 band seats, the Kootenai bring on 4 band seats, and then we have 2 at-large seats. So you vote for your band seat, and only the bands take care of the band seats. And then at large, all 4 bands, and everybody votes for the at-large seat. This way, if I decide to run out of my Bonners Ferry band, I'm going to be seated, most likely. The current system goes against us because I've seen this happen. Now, don't get upset, council, but I've seen you guys pay out a big employee bonus like 1 month before election. So that makes everybody happy. And you almost secure your next election that way. Inadvertently, you may not even know you're doing this, but there are things that people seeking an election can do to get people persuaded over to voting for them. And so with this new system, say Sam Barnaby, if he's still in here, if he wanted to run, he would get his seat. So you're bringing more participation. And the beautiful thing is, and this is what you guys will see, is that we give the power all the way back to the people. So the people are up here, truly, with their 2 chiefs and their constitutionalized elders committees that have the authority, the final say. You guys don't lose anything. Everything you currently do right now is what you do. But every quarter, instead of a quarterly, you will have a general council making sure in this past quarter, and we'll have a litmus test. It's already developed. It's ready to come out. It's ready for your input. But a litmus test will describe every single thing that happened in that quarter and how it benefited the Salish and Kootenai people. So to be able to have a seat there as a Pend d'Oreille band is going to be powerful in and of itself, because the bands get to be represented. They take over, they replace districts. Of course, we still need the districts as the polling sites, but they've been reduced to polling sites. We bring aboard an electoral committee that is so powerful that they count the votes in 48 hours. And of course, that doesn't foreclose, that doesn't preclude all of the questions that we may have, but all of that will be addressed and taken care of. So you know the end of the night that you voted, that's the final vote, actually. There'll be no time for votes to sit over here, no votes to sit over there. And people say, well, we're completely honest. Why would you even question our electoral system as it is? We're not questioning it. We're saying the people deserve an ironclad way to bring their people aboard. So nothing changes for you guys. Don't be afraid. You guys still do everything. You're tasked with all the executive authority that you currently have. It's just that the general council, and you're saying, well, how would that general council work? That is so easy. Have any of you been called to jury duty lately? Well, guess what? You're going to be called to sit here and be the general counsel. And when you understand the simple litmus test that you're going to be applying to the prior decisions made in the prior quarter, you can do your job. All you have to be is a reasonably minded person who can simply look at the facts and make a good decision. With that, you will, I remember time and again, my grandma Adeline sitting there, and she would say, look at Pat Pierre, look at Stephen Small Salmon. And she would throw her charcusta at me, and she'd be so mad. And I'd say, Graham, what's wrong? And she'd say, If it was a traditional governance, they wouldn't be treated like that. People just walking around and making their presence. She goes, that's the traditional way a Salish man is supposed to conduct himself. And she goes, our Kootenays won't even step foot in there because they're not going to be treated like that. Those two should have a place. They're doing what a traditional Salish man would do, and that is to protect his government and to know everything that's happening. Yet they don't get the I said, Graham, wow, I never thought of it. And she goes, yes, that makes me mad. I want to tell those two. She goes, one of these days you're going to run me down to council. She never got that opportunity, but she did want to come in, and she wanted Stephen and Pat Pierre seated. And I'll tell you something toward the end of Grandma's life. Don't think this stuff that I have, that we've put down, comes from me. I spent a lot of time with those Salish elders. They would come up and meet with my grandma, and I'd have a whole afternoon with them for about a year because we were working on something. The elders were trying to get momentum to get something going. And in my mother's final years, she was in such anguish. I told her, I said, Mom, why can't you just relax? And she said, because I spent all my time helping the Canadian Kootenai, helping the Bonners Ferry Kootenai. I didn't leave you kids anything. And do you know how that feels? One day I told her, I said, tell me everything, Mom. And we wrote it down. We gave it to Tweetmeyer. He was practicing federal law, but he was kicking all the butts of the California tribes down there. So I said, he must know his federal law because he's making headway. He said, yeah, give that to me. Let me fix it up. So he kind of did the skeletal work of it. Now these guys have flushed it out. And it's been a lot of hard work going into this, but I think it's something we can all work with, and it has an answer for everybody. So with that, just know, don't anybody think that we're disregarding the Pend Oreille or anything. We're going to increase the power they have. And down the road, a constitution is a living document. It can always be changed. Maybe someday they will be that third tribe. But for now, Congress doesn't look at it that way. And no matter how hard and no matter how many name changes you change around here, they recognize us as the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. And it's not been very frequent that anybody gets to break a confederation. It's probably not going to happen anytime soon. And so this is the quickest way because we took that into consideration. We wrestled with it. I didn't want to hurt Steve Arca. He's a young man, a good leader for his people. And I think over time, he will see that when he gets to the table, you know, maybe 10 years from now, we do something different. Who knows? But for now, we have to do something because we can't fade out. We stand so much to lose. And now we have the billionaire fight, Tom, and I don't mean to be a naysayer, but it's almost to the point where it's not even government leaders making decisions anymore. We know it's the billionaires. They're ruling the world. So good luck on that fight. Okay, anybody else have another question? Okay. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you,
And,
Lois.
I'll be visiting with you soon again after we get everything ready to send off to BIA.
For Lois. You got a question, Lois?
Lois, I just have a question.
Yeah.
It's Jamie. So I see that you guys have meetings. Are those open to anybody or do you have to
They're
be
open to
invited?
anybody.
Okay.
It's just that these first two stuff had to be put in place real quick for the attorneys. They had to have answers. And so we had to meet with the people and those just kind of came up. But from here on out, we're going to be heading and totally focusing on down south. So you'll know they'll all be posted. Everything has to be posted. And so all we ask is that you council give us your blessings, make the buildings available and do everything you can to support this because I think it's something real good for the people. And James, you could probably go on forever because if I recall, you were on that first constitutional committee that wanted to revise the Constitution about 30 years ago, huh? And I asked Mom, I said, Mom, why can't we get with that? She goes, they are not going about it right. She goes, do you think a chief would ever get his whole tribal membership to sit down and try to make a decision? That's nuts. She said those young kids didn't know what they were doing, and she goes, you take it from me. I'm the granddaughter. I'll tell you how it was told to me. And you go from there. You can't, and then I understood what she meant, because when you're getting billed $250 an hour to put something together, you can't have everybody sitting there wanting to have input. It can't move like that. And by rights, I really wish I could have come before and asked for tribal council legal support. We shouldn't even have had to have paid a cent for this. By rights, it should be handled, you know, within our own tribal legal system. But we had to do, you know, do it this way because that would get it going, and the work is done.
Thank you, Lois.
Okay.
Jake, we close this out with a prayer.
Thank you, Father, for this day. We ask for your particular protection upon our loved ones that are ill or fighting addiction. We ask for your protection, those at the celebration, particularly in Arlee. We ask for your guidance over our families and loved ones that are trying to guide their families and raise their young ones in a good way. We ask for your blessings upon our armed forces, particularly our Native people that are in the armed forces, members of the police, firefighters, as was mentioned earlier, and we remember those families of the firefighters that were lost recently. We ask for your blessings. We thank you for a beautiful homeland, and we ask for safety for everyone this weekend. Lem lem shusul kukani.
Thank you, James, and thank you all for coming today, and definitely be safe. Have a good 4th of July and powwow season.